Hey, yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully you've had a nice, safe holiday season so far. We have got a great late pick five sequence at Santa Anita to start their meet, and it's anchored by the Malibu Stakes, which is always a great race for 3-year-olds. So let's have at it. So this is the Santa Anita late pick five, and it comprises races 7 through 11. And it's on the day after Christmas card, the meet opener. And this is a good sequence. Plenty of stakes. The first leg, we'll start with an N1X allowance, and it's on the downhill chute, the downhill turf course at 6.5 furlongs. And always most important when you're looking at races like this is to find horses who have prior experience over the course. Because it is very unique. It plays a little more like a mile than it does an actual sprint. So an added stamina edge is also pretty important. If we look at this field, Booksmart is the lone speed, and there's really nobody else who wants to lead. So from that perspective, Booksmart has a pretty good advantage. Has been running very well of late. Just got the career high buyer on dirt. Career high speed figure last time. And kind of the same scenario. Got off to the lead, nobody went to get him, and he was gone. So that's a concern here, and, could very well happen again. The difference being is he has run on the downhill turf course before and has not done terribly well. And the last race was at 5 furlongs. So he has won at 6.5 on the front end, but again, not on the downhill course. So I think he's a little vulnerable here. And there are a couple here I think will be poised to be running late and to see if they can take him down. Manitowish is one that has some prior form and is in a similar pattern to running to a good form, moving from the quarter horse back onto traditional sprint and then to the third off the layoff. Last time it got a pretty good result. So I think this one's poised to run a pretty good race. The issue is, of course, it's only been running against state-bred company. So I'm not sure about stepping it up, but I think this is a good scenario for Manitowish, and you are getting 12-1. Beef Winslow was very unlucky in his last race. Had all kinds of traffic issues, had plenty of horse. And once he got free in the stretch, displayed a really good kick. So I think Beef Winslow's coming into this race in good form. In particular, the fact the last race was at a mile. So the cutback, I think, makes a lot of sense, particularly on the downhill course. So Beef Winslow, I think, is one that will have to kick it up speed-wise a little bit, but I think is in good form and looms dangerous in this race. Living Life is coming off a layoff for Ron Ellison. He's 3 for 8 on the turf when he reaches out for Mike Smith. They are all en routes, but I think that's a pretty positive sign for a horse who was showing progression prior to the layoff. And, the last race was pretty good. Hasn't run on the downhill course before, but, again, has that experience with 2 turns and the stamina. So I think that's a positive here, and you're getting 8-1. I think Living Life, it looks pretty good here. Minister Shane is another one who's run primarily against state-bred company and has done very well on the downhill course, and that's why I'm throwing him in here. And you are getting 12-1, probably more a candidate for under, but Minister Shane agrees with the downhill shoot, so we'll add him in. King Apollo, you see the asterisk, and of course that means I think under is more likely. Watching this one's races seems to engage a little too late. Certainly has the kick and could get it done for sure, but just based upon the running style, kind of reminds me of like Soldier Rising. Just always going to be in the money, but just seems to get it going late and costs any chance to win. So if we look at this field, Booksmart, could very well get on the lead and wire it, but I think it's unlikely on this course at the distance. So the ones I like the most are probably Living Life and Beef Winslow. But it's a pretty good race to start the pick 5. Leg 2 is the 8th race. It's the Malibu Stakes. We always love to see this one at the end of the year. It's a grade 1, run at 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds only. And if you look at this field, this looks like a pretty contentious race. There's some really nice horses in this field, but we have to find a way to differentiate them, and I think class is usually the best way. So I just want to talk about a couple that are high-profile horses that I think are a little overrated, and I'll start with Hijazi. If that last race on Breeders' Cup Friday was pretty impressive. There's no question about it. But who'd he beat? He really didn't run against much. And if you look on the total, in totality, for Hijazi's race record, you'll find every time he steps up in class, he doesn't meet the challenge. He's a horse who, when he's not hurried or not challenged, really tested, he can run a race like he did on Breeders' Cup Friday, where it was just with ease, didn't really face much of a challenge and just drew off. He obviously has a lot of natural speed, but he is going to get a big-time class test here, and I just don't think he's going to meet it. He just hasn't consistently throughout his career. Anytime he's had to step it up, he hasn't done it. So at 3-1, I consider him to be an underlay, so I'm skipping him. Damon's Mound, if you watched his last race, you can't like him. He had the lead. He had no excuses whatsoever. And then as soon as Rivet met him in the eye, he blew right by him. And the thing I really didn't like was, if you go back and watch that race, at the top of the stretch, he looked like he had pretty much stopped running. And then all of a sudden, when Rivet met him in the eye, then he decided to kick it in again. So I wonder about that. That really was very surprising to see. I think this horse is a cut below, and so again on class, I don't see him being competitive with some of the others here. Giant Mischief, we really don't know how good this horse is. To be honest, we saw that Springboard Mile last year, and it was such an exciting effort. But has he really built on it? I'm not sure. I think he should have won the last race. The fact that he didn't was a little disappointing. His speed figures, he hasn't been progressing terribly much. And so I just kind of wonder how good he really is. And he's got some saltier horses in here who have met the class challenge. And so Giant Mischief, I'm going to bet against. I think he's a bit of an underlay as well at 5-1. The ones I like, Speedboat Beach has answered the call, ran a really nice Breeders' Cup Sprint. Elite Power is an awesome horse, and so's Gunite. No sin to lose that race. I think he did. I think if they had got him out to the lead a little quicker, he might have had a chance in that one. But he ran a solid race. He has been competitive, and I think that he's one that we do have to worry about the layout, after the post-Breeders' Cup race, but I think he'll be up to the challenge, and I think he has the type of early speed. He's really, I think they're going to send him, and if you look Sharp as Attack or Matanzas Creek, I don't think there are any challenge to him there, so I think he could be very dangerous. 7 furlongs, it's hard to hold the lead, particularly with this group, but I think he's one that's a very good class fit here. Fort Bragg as well. He was a little slow to develop, but he has had some really big races this year, and he has been again equal to the challenge. He's a fighter. I really like that, and I think he's a really good fit here, and I think he's going to be very dangerous. Should be sitting just off the leaders. 7 furlongs should be a really good distance for him. He's been effective at a mile, so I think the cutback looks good for him. Raise Kane, I really like that Perryville. He ran a really nice race, I thought, and just showed a lot of pluck dueling down the stretch. And he is one that you can go all the way back to the Derby where, he didn't run a bad race at all. I think it was a little better than it looks on paper. And I think this one has shown when the class level has been raised during the year that he has met the challenge. Now, it's a 7 furlong race. He's coming from off the pace. That's certainly advantageous. You do have a fair amount of horses who want to be up near the lead. Whether or not he has the top end to take this field down, I'm not sure, but I think he's in really good form. And most importantly, again, he has met class challenges when he's been faced with them this year. So of the three, I think Fort Bragg makes the most sense, but Speedboat Beach and Rays Cane, I think, are serious contenders in here as well. Leg 3 is the ninth race. It's the Santa Anita Mathis Mile Stakes. It's a Grade 2, and it's run on the mile and turf for 3-year-olds only. And this is a pretty contentious race. This is a very wide open field, in my opinion. There isn't a lot of early pace. I think Calm Sea is the most likely to sort of inherit the lead. Watsonville has been running closer to the lead, but that is against better fields. So I think in this race where it's a tiny bit of class relief, perhaps he'll be a little further back to because his better races have been from running off the pace. So that means Calm Sea probably will get the lead, and we'll probably try to slow it down. Most of the better runners in this race are coming late, so it is interesting from that perspective. Trying to separate these is rather difficult in my view. There's knocks against all of them in one respect or another, but the ones I've settled on are Watsonville has been running in better races of late and has shown that with a little bit of class relief, I think this is a better matchup for him, and should be salty after running against better fields. Will be coming off the pace, and probably is going to have the jump on some of the later runners. So I think Watsonville makes a lot of sense here. Dandyman Shines. The real issue is can he run a good race at Santa Anita? He loves Del Mar, and he just the last race he had really awesome acceleration at the top of the turn and looked like a world beater. I thought the race was a little underrated from a class standpoint as far as how Dandyman Shines ran. And he's used to running without Lasix. We'll get to that in a second. But I think Dandyman Shines looks pretty good here. The question will be if he can get a little more forwardly placed in order to deal with Watsonville late in the stretch. But he has that acceleration, and I think that makes him a good candidate here. The two closers, Panic Alarm, we just been sort of waiting for this one to do something. He's been running it longer, and I don't think that's his game. I think coming back to a mile distance should suit him. Pedigree-wise, certainly I don't think he wants longer distances. He's a deep closer, but I think that he had, based upon his back class, who he's been running against in Europe, I think this one should be a good fit here with the cutback in distance. And I think particularly because he can run, he runs regularly off Lasix, that makes him a contender here. Why do I keep mentioning that? Well, Almendares would look to be the favorite in this race, but note, his better races come when he runs on Lasix. Without it, he's not as good. And that last race was a confidence builder. I mean, he was a 3-2 favorite, won it pretty easily, and they set a scorching pace on the front end. So he had everything his way. And I don't know that the waters are necessarily that much deeper here, but I think not having Lasix certainly has to be considered a factor here. So I think he's more a threat to be under in this race than actually as a win candidate. I think Watsonville, to me, looks like the one to beat in this race, but I think Dandyman Shines. And then, Panic Alarm, he may have a little too much to do late, but I think he has a chance to come up at the wire. But I think the closer runners to the pace will definitely have an edge here. So Watsonville and Dandyman Shines look like the best two for me. Leg 4 is the 10th race. It's the La Brea Stakes, a Grade 1 run at 7 furlongs for 3-year-old fillies, and this is a good race. This is a really good field. Not much to speak of, I don't think, in the way of early pace. Probably going to be fast and shiny for Bob Baffert, but I don't think is a class fit here. And Bangs, I don't think is much either. So being 7 furlongs, the logical inclination is to be thinking about late runners, but I don't know that that's necessarily the right play here. If you look at this field, Daddy's Ruby really was pretty darn impressive in her last race. Coming off the layoff, ran a career high, and blew that field away, and did so with plenty left in the tank and was never really asked. This is a step up in class to be sure, but I think Daddy's Ruby looks awful good. Peter Miller specializes in sprints, and I think this one should have first jump on the other runners, so looking good to me. Big Pond is one that has won at this distance and comes from off the pace. I don't see any reason why this one shouldn't be a competitor here. I just kind of like others a little bit better. Clearly Unhinged certainly would make sense. I think this one should be a little closer to the pace. Has been lingering from off the pace in the last couple, but has had better success running up closer. Certainly is the classiest horse in this race. And after that test, the ill-fated race, ran a big one there. And if she can get back to that kind of form following the Breeders' Cup, I think that she would be a winner here. But it is post-Breeders' Cup, and form was, kind of okay leading up to that race. So we'll have to see if she can rebound. Royal Spa just ran a really nice race off the bench and got a career high. Had pace to run to, and I think that was it may have had something to do with it. But you had to like the effort coming from off the pace, and had some traffic in the stretch and just bored her way through to get up in time. And coming off a career high, I think this one's poised for another solid effort. Will be coming off the pace, just tactically, from my perspective, I think Daddy's Ruby is the one to beat here. But clearly there are some good, some worthy contenders as well. And this ought to be a really fun race to watch. Last leg of the late pick 5 is the 11th race, and it's a maiden special weight run on the turf at a mile for 2-year-old fillies. And this is a, 2-year-old fillies maidens. This is a spread race for sure. In terms of the first-time starters, I really didn't see any that were eye-popping that would get me real excited. So I think the winner will likely come from horses who have already run. And of those, Oratium or Oratium, the number 2 horse, probably is going to have the lead to himself. And at 24-1 last time, I thought ran a pretty good race and kept on very well. With improvement, I think could be a factor here. And at 8-1, I think you get very good value. Respect the Crown is starting to look like one of those horses that just can't get up. Has been knocking at the door quite a bit. Certainly has some quality, but wasn't able to hang on last time despite separating from the field. And you just got to wonder about that will to win at this point. Still, does have some talent and likely, can factor in this race. Affair number 9 is trained by Dick Mandela, and he's 1 for 2 in the scenario here with a first time on turf, first at a route with the layoff. So I think, given his history, it's a pretty good bet. This one ran a pretty good race in the debut on the dirt, had some bumping in the stretch, but kept on well. And should be adjust to the grass just fine. So I think Affair is one at 6-1. You don't get Mandela at those kind of odds that often. I think is one we have to consider. Gerwig improved position enough to me last time to say that a better race is in the offing. I'm not sure it's good enough here, and 6-1 might be a bit of an underlay, but broke okay last time, but in the debut, but it was the way that she kept on to tell me that this one is going to get better. And if we can get some kind of value in there, maybe one to throw on there. I kind of went either way. And then Flight to Quality is pretty obvious. Phil D'Amato, second start, looked pretty good in the last one and was coming late. So it's logical to assume that with another start, that this one will fire. So Flight to Quality, I think, is one that you certainly have to use in this race. I think Affair is probably the one that to me is the most logical win candidate here, followed by Flight to Quality. But Oratium is very interesting to me and might surprise, and hope we can get a good price. Being on the lead by herself, you never know. So contentious race, definitely have to spread. So here's what the ticket looks like for the late pick five. In leg one, race 7, we're going to use 1, 4, and 7. And Booksmart may just bolt and take this race from the get-go, but I don't think it's an absolute lock, particularly at the distance. The Malibu, we're going to use 2, 3, and 8. I think Fort Bragg, to me, looks like the one who's has the best shot at winning this, but Speedboat Beach with that early lick, you can't leave out. It's going to be tough at that distance, but I think has a really good shot as well. Leg 3, race 9, we're going to use 6 and 7. I thought that was the most logical of the 5 races, so we could limit our options to only 2. And in leg 4, race 10, the La Brea, we're going to use 2, 5, and 9. I think that's a pretty contentious race. And same with the 5th race, the Maiden. I'd love to go 6 deep in this one. I really would. But to keep our ticket size economical, we're going to use 2, 6, 8, and 9. So that's 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18, times 3 is 54, times 4 is 216. So that's $108 on a 50-cent base. There should be some value in the later races, I think. And hopefully we can get some to make for a nice Boxing Day present. So that's the late pick 5 sequence. Offers to be a good one. I wish it could be all stakes. I don't know why we have to have a maiden on the end of it. It always has that potential buzzkill, particularly with 2-year-olds. But hopefully we'll be still alive, and we've got a few options to possibly take it down, make for a nice Boxing Day present. Hope our analysis helps you as always with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck. And thanks to all of you who have opted in this year and joined our community. Really appreciate it. We can always have room for more, so please like and subscribe if you do like content like this. That's it from here. Thanks again to all of you for the support. I'm really looking forward to 2024. I'm sure you are as well. And we will continue with everything current with the thoroughbred racing season as we go along. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.